Hey guys, Conda here. So today I wanted to make this video to talk about how personal accountability, responsibility, and pursuing excellence is really what will get you out of the state that you're in. A little context too is when you experience a soul awakening moment to where you don't operate the way that you do, it can be very overwhelming. And 3 months ago, I just walked away from everything that I loved so deeply. And then actually 7 months prior, 6 months prior, I had fallen ill. And when I let this old version of me die and I had to bury her, I think the saddest part was living those memories because it's so painful. It was one thing to feel sick, to be so tired all the time, to not really know what's going on, to experience spiritual warfare. I had consulted with a shaman at that time about what's going on, and he told me like how the spirit world operates. And it wasn't like I'd never operated in witchcraft or anything like that. I was very much like meditation. I thought I was doing good, and then all of a sudden like my stomach started getting bigger. I thought I was pregnant at one point. It was like so torturing. My partner at that time was very, very supportive. And one of the things that was in my mind that I had really came into terms was that like, it's one thing to feel so depleted of your energy, but it is another thing to really come to terms with the reality that like, I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you deserve, what you need. I remember I was sleeping like 14, 16 hours every day, and I was so irritated. I was so frustrated. And when I consulted with this shaman, he was telling me that this darkness that someone had, this darkness that someone had casted onto me. And I was, meditating, I was reading, I was taking, everything was doing good. And all of a sudden my world just spiraled. And it was so scary because it's not like someone is here to save you from witchcraft and the shaman was talking about how this was a generational thing. And it's why my family is the way that it is, very dysfunctional. And at the same time, there's a woman and then there's a man that did this witchcraft. And so at first I was like, I'm not going to get into the victim mindset. And he told me that the experience of this witchcraft, oh my God, removing negative energy, removing spirit, like removing that, like it broke everything inside of me. Because here I thought that I was loving, I was kind, I like supported everything, like I did everything, and it was like obviously at the expense of myself. But the moment I had a spiritual awakening, I just retreated back into my shell, and I became very upset with myself. And it was no one to blame but me. And although that had been casted upon me, it's like I'm not gonna fall victim to that. Does it make sense? And so post then, like, there was a huge, had to say goodbye to someone that I truly loved. And I found myself back at my mom's house. And I had two options. First of all, I was praying. I grew up Buddhist, so I wasn't really sure what I was praying, who I was praying to. And so really, really going deep, deep, deep into the spirit world and meeting God. I met God during this journey, and God has just been this loving, like, I talk to Jesus all the time now, and I'm very grateful looking back. But in those moments, I was losing my mind. I lost the relationship. I fell to the weapon and the agents of darkness. And I'm not saying this to give power, but there's a world that exists, the spirit world. And I also had to train my mind to not fall victim. And I remember it was like lies, deceptions, nightmares, like the taunting, the torment. Sorry. And I had to tell myself that there's still someone that loves me. Because when you're going through those things, oh my gosh, when you're going through those things, it's very easy. It's very easy for the mind it's very easy for the mind to tell you that like you're this evil human being and no one will love you, no one will get you. And I made this video to call out darkness by its name and that it doesn't have any sovereignty over me. And so how do you explain that to someone, you know? And I don't blame them, you know? And it was such an awakening in my world because I think when you're understanding the world of the spirit and like who Jesus is and really on this journey and seeking truth, it wasn't like church was helping. Every time I went to church, it was like, praise God, here's the scripture. And I was still dealing with that. I am better than I am now. And I've had more better dreams. Life is creating such a beautiful miracle. I'm experiencing so much great fortune, great blessings. And I feel very restored by eternal light. And I'm looking back at it now, and I remember when I came back home with my suitcase, I just worked harder. Like the enemy works hard, you work harder and smarter. And like I just felt so alone in that time. And the person that I wanted to talk to, it just hurt really, really much because we didn't expect this to happen. And I had to pick myself back up and tell myself. And I remember for those 3 months, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because I was so ashamed of myself. And there are some things you take responsibility for, of course. And there are things in life that it is out of your control, but you can learn to overcome it. And I remember like the moment I went to my shaman and he helped me remove this black magic, this witchcraft, my stomach was a lot better. And if you don't know my journey, I hated myself that entire time. Then I deleted all pictures because it was a reminder of like how disgusting it felt. And to pick myself back up and continuously tell myself that someone loves me despite me not knowing what's going on. And I just felt like the dumbest life. Like I would ask God, like, why am I still here? Like, just take it away. And, you know, I went to doctors and scans and they didn't know what was going on. Thought I was pregnant at one point, and it wasn't. It was almost like darkness was using my dreams to manipulate me, to taunt me, you know? And it was very, very scary. And I started getting closer to scriptures. I started getting closer to God. And so I grew myself as this divine woman, and allowing myself to receive and to feel feminine. But like in that moment, I don't know, I just lost it. Like I couldn't give what someone really deserved, which was love, attention, time. I wasn't working at that in those like couple of months, solely relying on this person. It just felt so ashamed, like I should be contributing, you know? And although I was cooking, cleaning, I was loyal and all that stuff, like there was a part of me that I needed to eternally work on. So saying goodbye, so that way you don't hurt that person, so that way like I had to do that even if internally there was so much chaos. And looking back at it now, like I'm very, very grateful that I went through this because I feel more at peace with my presence. I feel more wiser. I have been more closer to my spiritual life. And I realized that I'm not the only one going through this journey alone. Like there's thousands of people that are experiencing spiritual warfare. And I had two options. It was, okay, I can either fall victim, as most people have, or I can just outwork the enemy and sustain that. So what did I do? How did I overcome, based on what the shaman was talking about? He said that when you allow previous partners into your body temple, you are allowing demons. So the more bodies you have, the more that these demons have access to you. And these demons don't want you to be happy. They don't want you to have a fulfilling marriage. They don't want you to be together. So I was working against something that was so spiritual, that was so, you couldn't see with your eye, but you experienced it. And I remember when I came back home for the first 2 months, I couldn't sleep. I was restless. I lost so much weight. The bed, I was laying in bed and I was so scared that if I closed my eyes that I wouldn't wake up. I told myself that it was just easier to end it. That nobody would want me, you know? Sorry, it's a shame, but it's not like the darkness would want me to feel this shame. But I'm telling this to expose the darkness and that it doesn't have any sovereignty over my life, a lot of women go through this journey and don't even know what they're going through, and you have to equip yourself with spiritual knowledge. So I remember I started praying every night at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. to 3 a.m. is usually when the activities of witchcraft, the activities of darkness falls. And so I would pray all the time. I would talk as if I'm protected. I would call upon my angels. I'd call upon God. I'd call upon Jesus. I would anoint my house. I would do all these things. You know, I started getting closer to spirit and to my spiritual team. And now I can confidently go to sleep at night, knowing that I'm always protected because I had built a relationship with my ancestors, with my angels, my guardian angel, with Source God, with Jesus. And, although I can feel so much hatred and anger towards darkness, you meet darkness with love and compassion, as that's what Jesus did. And so everyone is like, you know, you obviously are the creator of your reality. However, when you are brought into a world unbeknownst to you, whether it's by your ancestors, that they've made covenants with darkness in some way, shape, or form, it's like, if you don't have the spiritual like awareness that that world exists, like you will forever be stuck. And I remember praying to God, I was like, I want to break all generational curse. I end all spells, all covenants of darkness. I give my life to Jesus. I give my life to eternal source light. And you know, those first 2 months felt like 2 years. I was fighting for the custody of my soul. So it wasn't like, I was still, first of all, I was working out 6 days a week. I was working 2 jobs, didn't know how to do sales, and I ended up I ended up bringing more money to the company my second month, okay? I, you know, got myself a place, and then like darkness will try to break you. But because you are a sovereign being, and you're a self-sufficient being, which Jesus, by the way, gave you everything that you need, and he walks with you, there's nothing you can't handle. God never promised us that darkness would go away. He did promise us if we return to his nation, to the nation of God, that he would walk with us despite darkness, okay? So I started getting closer to spirit, because if I am to be married one day with my husband, with my children, you must have strong spiritual discernment and tap into your spiritual gift, whether it's intuition. I think about like, if one day my kids cry in the middle of the night for no reason, do I have the prayer to cast out demons? Do I have the prayer to call upon Jesus to protect my family, to protect our spiritual life? Do I have the intuition to foresee what the darkness is trying to implement? Can I catch that? And so I realized this is all what Jesus would have want me to do. It's like Jesus casted out demons. It's almost like a parasite cleansing, like it's a cleansing of the soul. But we don't talk about it in America enough. And the second thing too is that pain, that torture, that torment that I went through, God somehow, I don't know how it is, I actually met God. I met Source Light. And it's the craziest thing, because I remember I fumbled, I fell, and I was crying, and my energy shifted into the little girl. And I remember God's just like this warm orange, yellow, white energy just like absorbed me and just held me like for the longest time, because I've been like operating from a wounded, hyper masculine energy that I didn't think anything in this world could save me from myself, could save me from what my ancestors had done, and it just felt like redeeming, you know. And I remember Source telling me, Source was like, real God becomes really happy. God rejoices in heaven when you realize that you want to return to God. You want to return to Jesus. Like, it's almost like a parent celebrating a child learning to be obedient from free will. And so I was taking spiritual accountability. I was praying every single night, and I realized it wasn't just me, it's everyone. The matrix is real. There are agendas. Like, nobody wants to wake up to that truth, because it's easy to sit here and listen to certain artists or eat certain things or do certain things and never question why you do it. And I think about it now, it's like darkness wants to keep you enslaved. It wants you to be single. It wants you to think that money is everything and that you shouldn't focus on relationships, relationship with God, building a family. So the world is out to destroy really marriage, to destroy your image, to destroy anything, because you're a representation of God. And so I had to literally overcome insecurity, overcome feeling safe within myself. When you go through spiritual warfare, I'm telling you, you wouldn't even want to be in your own presence, because you're so afraid of yourself. I don't really know how I did it, but Jesus Christ walked with me the entire time. And I remember I was led to a Bible verse that talks about like who God really is and who God isn't. If you find yourself with blessings, abundance, rich, prosperity, peace, love, that's from God. God gives you sustainability. Darkness cannot give you what it doesn't have. So it could try to say, oh, when you have the business, you'll be okay. But little do you know, if you don't have spiritual discernment, if it's not from God, you will lose it. So I had to really restart. It's almost weird. It's like, yeah, I'm working a 9 to 5. You know, I'm working out. I'm building a social media page. I'm trying my best. I'm loving myself. But it's like my soul needed that spiritual awakening. And I realized like my body, my temple, like until marriage. And like you have to love yourself enough to see your self-worth, and do not let previous relationships, previous partners define who you are. And if one thing you can get out of this is like, I effing put my mind to bringing heaven on earth. So I went through that. I walked away from this beautiful relationship, which I truly, truly love that partner. And it was, I needed to be accountable for my actions. I needed to be like, yo, you know what? Yeah, this happened. So let me fix it. Let me heal. Let me confront the truth. Let me just show myself this daughter of the mighty. Like, I am the daughter of the mighty one, like the Almighty, the Most High, Jesus. I am a daughter of this divine kingdom. So really bringing back power into my being. And first of all, a woman's intuition, I learned to trust it. Like the moment I sense a spirit, like I cast it out. It's crazy. Like it's so crazy. And I'll give you an example too, is the benefit of going through a spiritual warfare, going to God, and how it really brought more money than I've ever had, brought more peace, brought more joy, brought more abundance and happiness, despite being in hell. Literally every freaking waking day, it was like my immune system was messed up. My face was flaring up in the past, okay? And now my immune system is calm. I'm waking up and I'm loving myself. I'm seeing the beauty within myself. So I had to take accountability. So the first step I had to tell myself was, I had to tell myself the truth, which was, I played a part in this. I allowed darkness to deceive me, and I will not fall victim to it, no matter how hard it can be to make. It's darkness's fault. It's like, I also allowed that to happen. Okay, so call out the truth that you are a sovereign being of the Most High. You have what it takes. You can overcome anything. The second thing is call out darkness by its name. Don't be afraid of calling out the fear by its name and addressing the truth of who you are. So I'll give you an instance. When you are full of insecurities and confidence, no amount of makeup can ever make you feel something. So when you've opened your body temple to a world of darkness and you've allowed demons, every time you are intimate with a person, it's almost like demons being intimate with each other. So, okay, I had to restrain myself and not see myself as that darkness. Okay, the second thing I did was I told myself, remember, the power of life and death is in the tongue. I told myself the most beautiful, positive, uplifting, and for 3 months, I didn't believe it until this morning. Okay, so I spoke life over my life. Every time I go to sleep, remember, the moment you go to sleep is the moment that the darkness can manipulate versus the heavenly world sending you messages. You're supposed to receive dreams and messages from divine love, not from like the manipulation of darkness. If you are having nightmares about being touched, if someone's out to kill you, someone's out to strangle you, someone stabbed you, like lust, that is a weapon of darkness. So I had to literally rebuild my entire identity and take accountability, and no one knew what was going on. I still showed up to the gym, and the moment I really started being compassionate and loving and kind to myself, it's like this energy fled. It's almost like I'm powerful. I am this powerful, amazing, magnificent being. So what if I made mistakes? And so what if this happened? What does that have to do with the truth of who I am, which is that God has bought me with a price of life through his son. So I don't care how crazy and how I have to renew my mind, I will believe that I'm worthy. And we're now elevating, and Spirit was telling me we're at a point in the human expansion, the human evolution, where you're going to have to raise your consciousness and expand, which is why you're seeing so much people talk about religion, talk about spirituality, talking about the truth, because in a sense, truth has thousands of expression on one face, which is, are you evolving or are you de-evolving, right? And so both have their own pain. But I thought about my children and my husband and my family and like my purpose. If I give into this darkness now, like I'm just going to repeat what my grandparents did. I can't have that anymore. I made a sacred commitment. I was going to end all curse, all spells, all generational curses. I was going to do that. I was going to be the greatest woman of my timeline. And at first I thought, being the greatest woman of my timeline meant money, but no amount of money ever actually saved me. I couldn't buy it's not like I could hire a lawyer to help advocate for my soul because it's being tormented. So I had to take freaking accountability, dude. And the scariest thing is when you go through the spiritual warfare, Night of the Dark Soul, you're expanding. The second step, like I talked about in my previous video, is the belief system. And I remember telling myself that I'm this hideous, demonic child. Fun fact, my mom actually used to curse. And now looking back at it, I'm like, oh my God, like this is why her children are the way they are in a way. Because when you speak consistently and you tell your children they're mofos, they don't have anything going for themselves, they're just not lovable, like that will manifest itself. And I had to have spiritual discernment and awareness to be like, okay, this environment is toxic. I need to give myself a place, got myself a place. Okay, I'm not liking who I see in the mirror, and I can't even look at myself in the mirror. I'm 23 years old. I can't even really stare at myself without like glancing at something else. I was very uncomfortable with my presence. I was filled with hate and rage. Some people call it demons. So the moment I spoke love, life, peace, blessings, I started coming up with my own formula, expanding my soul. And I was like, I don't care if I end up with cats and I drink wine and I'm 60 years old on Social Security. I don't care. What I care about is my soul. It is, what is my impact? So although I had confronted and called fear by its name, there was a part of me that was like, dude, I sound crazy. Like, who the hell would understand this? And having to tell myself I'm not crazy, like this is what I'm going through. And you know, I was following people that was doing business and they never talked about it. So I almost stooped my self-worth lower because social media doesn't really talk about it, especially the people I was following at that time. But then now I know how real it is, how witchcraft exists, demons exist, how like the power of prayer, the power of intention, the power of hard work, like outwork your enemy. So I hope to one day create a school, online or physical, where I teach people these things, because what darkness did was just learn how to make more money, learn sales. I did that, I made money, and I was still being tormented. However, now I'm at peace. My soul is at peace. I feel feminine. I feel the love of this eternal source life. I feel the love of Jesus Christ now. And I get chills talking about it, because this shit is real. And I will continue to call it out, because granted, although I am the creator of my reality, there was also another creator that I was butting heads. Does that make sense? We are living in a matrix of like influence, programs, agendas. And so when you take sovereignty, you take your mind back. It's like you're almost, I'm going to give you a demonstration of my hands, okay? Me, this is the darkest. I'm just like pulling. It's just like crushing me. I'm just like, and I finally feel this powerful version of myself that I never thought I could feel. And now I'm more excited and motivated to tell my story. And I used to always think that no one will get what I have gone through. However, I will just say is that there's someone that gets me. There's someone that doesn't judge. There's someone that accepts me for who I am, sees me for who I am, that I am always been loved. I've always been cherished. I've always been wanted. I've always been adored. I always mean something to someone, you know? And so the world of the spiritual world and the idea of accountability and responsibility is a battle that only you and Jesus and God, whoever you believe that is loving and kind and sweet and supportive, is just between you two. And everyone has an enemy. But it's so important not to hate the enemy, but to bring love into it. Because if you are made in the image of God and the enemy wishes that it was made in the image of you, why wouldn't it want to destroy you? But don't let it. And I hope this story inspires you to see the worth within yourself. That, dude, it's so hard. And I think the pro is I've been more compassionate, more feminine, more loving, more intuitive, more excited, more joyful. It's almost like God allowed this darkness to happen to see, will I decide on my own free will to rise above the darkness? And I decided I'm gonna rise above the darkness. And at one point I remember I was sitting in the park and I had just come out of this, you know, and I'm still kind of limbo. I'm still feeling and being there for myself, being gentle and kind with me. And I closed my eyes and I see a vision of my son. It was almost like Lord of the Rings, where the beautiful elf woman, she was about to go to a different world because the world was supposedly ending because her father, you know, told her there's nothing for you. And then she sees a vision of her son that she's to have with this man that she doesn't know if she's ever gonna see him. And I think about like, God put that little boy, and I remember like, this sounds so crazy, right? I remember I'm sitting here, I'm staring at the sun, and you know, I'm 23, I know I'm still young, but it feels like I don't got much time in a way, which is clearly not true. And I see this little boy, like he's just giggling. He has like a gray, it's so cute. It's like a gray zip up, long sleeve, it's fall time. He has cute little jeans and he's running around. He hands me a dandelion and I see him. And in that moment I was like, yeah, you know, here I am, feeling like I'm doing life by myself, but not really. I've got support of the divine. But I can't give up now. I won't give up now because if I saw what looks like my future son, then at least I'm gonna be crazy enough to believe that. Even if right now, it's just, time tells. Oh gosh. I promised myself I wouldn't cry, but I want you guys to know that being brave is being feminine in a world of hyper-wounded masculinity, in a world of darkness, in a world of hate, in a world of jealousy. The world will never not be what it is, but it's what makes you beautiful, because if you decide in your free will that you're going to become the greatest woman of your timeline, you're going to have to go through something that is so profound that one day you'll look back and you realize it was all worth it. And I remember, before I end up this video, what was my schedule like? So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd spend an hour with this divine God, with Jesus, and I'd work. I work out, and I would read books, I would learn, I would listen to podcasts. And Conde, that left something so beautiful, because the love that I have for this amazing man, I had to let it go, because there was a part of me that needed healing. As much as we can blame the external world, it's like it's not going to make any difference in my life. I have to be accountable for that, and just forgive myself. We're all on this journey. This is our first time as human beings. Who am I to point fingers? It just has to be pointed at me. I'm the creator of my reality. Yes, circumstances and things happen, but what am I going to do about it? And so I decided that it was just easier for me to go all in, take a bet on myself. I don't know what purpose I'm walking into. I have an idea, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna start that business idea. I'm gonna mentor. I'm gonna whatever. What have I got to lose? Because at that moment in time, when I'm laying in my mama's basement, I lost everything. Lost a sense of myself. I wasn't awakened. Now looking back, I'm so glad, and I'll go through it again. I will go through it 1,000 times to be where I'm at now. And that level of confidence is what made me want to share this with you, because every woman, if you do decide to grow, has to go through a phase where people see the success and the relationship, but it's this part, that the times that you had to wipe your own tears, or the times that you had to enjoy your own shower and be in your own presence and look at yourself despite those internal voices telling you otherwise. And so I wasn't just taking accountability. I changed my diet. I changed my health. I changed my mindset. I changed my emotions. I allowed myself to feel. I allowed myself to forgive myself. And I'm now coming from a place of true divine compassion. Granted, I still have my days where, also, by the way, I cried every single day. And it wasn't just tears of breakups. It was tears of times where I was so hurt and I never grieved. So those 3 months of crying was literally 23 years condensed, because time doesn't exist. It's almost like I went back into my life and I was like, wow, why am I so mean to myself? Or wow, why didn't I love myself a little bit? So it's this beautiful, beautiful energy. And I also want to say, I'm not glorifying darkness in any way. I will say I am a sovereign being. I'm whole. I'm protected now. So that's how I operate. And I want you to know that if you as a woman are experiencing this expansion, because it's kind of hard to talk to a guy or your family members if you feel like the lone wolf, you're not crazy. But what is crazy is believing that it's not happening for you, that God trusts you. Through your pain, did you keep your posture? Does that make sense? And so whatever challenge you're going through, it's God trusted you to handle it, and whatever that looks like. And so I wanted to do something where I end off this video by telling you 5 beautiful things that you might not know about yourself, in a sense, because I've gone through it too. So the first thing is, out of the trillions of versions of you, you could have been a midget, You could have been tall, you could have been black, white, you could have been a woman, you could have been a man. You are the way you are, and that is enough to me. That is enough to God. And it's up to you to decide if you're enough. The second thing is, although we have not met, I cannot imagine a life without you. Meaning, you had to fill a part of this beautiful web of life. And so play your part well. You've got what it takes. The third thing too is, if you think your presence does not mean anything, meaning you don't have much friends or families, do you know what God would feel if you weren't here? Like the fact that he thought of you, the way how you think, you look, you act, you present yourself, it is beautiful. So hold on to that. The fourth thing is, you are the only person in this entire world that thinks like you. And it is a beautiful way of thinking. And the fifth and last thing, and this was something that I struggled with, is the little child that never had a chance to grieve, to feel. Wouldn't it be so amazing? Like, God trusts you to take care of this child, like trusts you. So that means you've always had it in you to restore yourself, because you were once a child and now you're an adult, and God trusts you as an adult to heal that child. Okay, this is a lengthy video, and I also will say too is, if you believe that true divine love doesn't exist, that you couldn't love yourself, that so much has been done to you and you're just not sure if you have what it takes to make amends, to have a better life, I will honestly just say that go ahead and be crazy. Now, don't be harming people, don't be harming yourself, don't be doing anything harmful, okay? This is just educational purpose. No, don't. I'm just saying, positively and enthusiastically believe that you have what it takes, because you do. Like I always say, be fruitful, go forth and multiply Christ's consciousness, guys.